Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Happy Wednesday. I'm Jay Zawoski with Greg Boyson and Mario Tirabassi. We are here in our West Loop studios. We appreciate you tuning in. If you're watching us on YouTube, please smash that like button and hit that subscribe button as well. If you are watching on the podcast or listening on the podcast proper, make sure you're subscribed or following and do all those fun things. And leave us a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That would be greatly, greatly appreciated. We are still basking in the glow or the misery, depending on your point of view, on last night's win over the Boston Bruins. But because that game was so eventful, we weren't able to really get to a lot of the news of the week. So we're going to talk about Cole Gutman's season-ending injury. We're going to talk about the new contracts for Ryder Rolston and for Wyatt Kaiser. But we're going to start the show today with a little bit of not breaking news, but updated news. Anton Khudobin has been recalled. Petr Mrazek, if you missed it last night, left the game in the second period with yet another groin injury after just putting together a couple of fantastic starts in a row and a great start to the game. He had stopped all 16 Bruins shots before he came out. And I don't know if we're actually going to see Khudobin play, but I don't know. I feel bad for Mrazek. And Stalock, too, has been through it this year or two. But it's just, like Greg said last night, as soon as these guys seem to get on a roll and start playing well, they get hurt. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough as a goalie when you have susceptible groins. It's not a good thing to have. But, yeah, I mean, Mrazek has been playing really well recently. And you feel good for him because, look, like, a lot of teams have rolled the dice on him in recent years and come up empty. And, you know, he was basically shipped away from Toronto and came to Chicago and had a big opportunity. We talk about it all the time about guys getting an opportunity with this team. And yeah, like, he kind of was what we expected him to be early on this season. But these last couple of starts for him have been, you know, really good performances, and sometimes even in losses, really good performances, which is A-okay with us, you know. But yeah, last night looked like it was going to be another game that he was going to shine and probably steal for the Blackhawks if he didn't get hurt. But yeah, tough for him. But I would assume Stalock is going to get all the starts. On the next upcoming games. I would be surprised if Anton Khudobin plays any games.
Yeah, they may throw him in there one of them. You're on a 5-game road trip. There are no back-to-backs. There's a game day in between all the games, and then there's a 2-day break in the middle there. So, but I mean, do they want to put Stalock that heavy workload after himself just coming back? We'll see.
Sure. I
mean, what's the harm in putting Khudobin out there, except maybe accidentally winning a game? So we'll see how that goes. You know, Stalock, it's been great when he's been out there, but he's another guy that just seems like he's one play away or one bad shellfish away from missing some time. And you gave me the look when Mario said, what'd you call the groins? Susceptible groins. And you looked at me waiting.
It's waiting for a music festival or a venue you saw.
I got one. I didn't want to interrupt Mario because he was making a good point. But I believe Susceptible Groins is the sequel to the Detachable Penis song.
King Missile reference on the show today.
Deep cuts today. Deep cuts.
Wow, that's way
we got some folks checking in. We got Chris Fields, who's watching us in the UK. Thank you, Chris.
Cheers.
And Alexander from Portugal checking in. So thanks for joining us. I know it's a weird time for us. It's a weird time for the three of us. We're like, didn't we just leave? I feel like we just left.
You did just leave.
We did just leave.
We were just here in this seat listening to Mario's hatred of all things Boston.
That was so good.
It was glorious.
Glorious. On the Khudobin thing, I always get excited to watch. If it's a new player, I'm excited. I think this might be the exception. I'm just like, whatever.
Meh.
You know? Yeah. Like, okay, if he gets in a game, he gets in a game, and whatever. I remember he was good a long time ago.
But was he, though? He was good in it for like
He was
3
good.
weeks when it mattered most.
He was good
Yeah.
for like a month and a half.
And then Dallas was like, wow, this guy who's been a backup for 10 years is our goalie of the future. Let's give him money. And then immediately went, we probably shouldn't have done
It's
that.
a little
like
bit of a Brian
35 years
Bickle
old.
situation for Anton Hudobin.
But like
Yeah.
worse
Yep.
because he was like 10 years older than Bickler.
Yeah.
I mean, Hudobin's been around for a long time. A long time. Like I had even forgotten he was like a backup for the Minnesota Wild.
Well, they show him on the bench, and he looks like he looks like old. Looks like he's 50.
Well, yeah.
You know,
He looks like
36.
he looks like
Oh, that's ancient.
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
Well,
36.
for a goalie.
He looks like the Russian mobster that wears like the tracksuit in like every episode of
Yes.
Law and Order, where there were Russian mobs, and like he's the guy in the
Dun, dun.
Adidas zip-up suit, that swears he's just a garbage man. That's what he looks like.
waste management. I'm in waste management.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see how the goalie rotation plays out. But Luke did say that it's not as severe of a groin injury, at least as of last night, and he wasn't going to make the trip, but might join them halfway.
He wasn't
going
to
to
start the trip, but
yeah.
that he might, because it's 5 games on the road.
Yeah.
He might join them at some point.
Yeah.
So probably we might see 2 Stalock starts, and then Mrazek rejoins the team.
Could
Yeah.
be. It's going to be an interesting road trip because for those worried about the tank, and as our buddy Ryan says, at least everybody else who needed to get points got points last night.
Oh,
so
true.
we're like,
Yeah.
Perfect outcome.
Right, I
Columbus
mean-
overtime win over San
yeah,
Jose.
exactly.
Perfect.
That's exactly what we wanted. Some other Arizona won,
Arizona
Montreal
won.
won. All the teams
Vancouver
were, which
won.
kind of sucks because they're like, well, that would have been the perfect night to lose, but at least everybody else got at least 1 point last night. But this road trip will be interesting because you start in Nashville tomorrow, tomorrow.
Yeah.
I have no idea what day of the week it is anymore.
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
So tomorrow night, Nashville. Nashville's been red hot lately. They are 8-2-1 in their last 11.
Wow.
And Nashville's traditionally been a weird place for the Blackhawks.
Yes.
Even in the Stanley Cup era, they couldn't win down there for whatever reason. Yeah.
I don't know what that reason might be.
Well,
It's
that's Tyler
such
Anderson.
a boring town.
The old brown bottle flu strikes up. So you got that. Then you go to Arizona, which you don't know. Arizona's really good at home.
Yeah.
They're like 7-3 in their last 10 home games, and they've screwed up their tank. I remember the beginning of the year.
They've given the middle finger to the tank.
Oh yeah, they're like, screw it. We're gonna win Connor Bedard with that 0.9% chance we have of getting him now.
Yeah, I mean, Bettman's going to rig it for them anyway, so what difference
yeah.
does it make?
Yeah, they've
Of
had.
course he would.
Wait, I thought he was rigging it for Columbus.
He's
Oh,
rigging
it depends
he's,
on which conspiracy theorist you talk to.
He's rigging it for everybody.
Depends on which brand of tinfoil is being used for your hat. When
I
you
hope
just-
he
when
rigs
you
it for
talk
us.
about that.
Can he rig it for us by chance?
I mean,
So,
look,
please?
if you're going to rig it and you're not a moron,
You give him to Chicago.
Chicago is the team you
Because
rig
when
it
the
for.
put him in-
Blackhawks are good, everybody makes money.
Yes.
Put him in the money-making market.
Yes.
There was a reason the Blackhawks were always on national TV. There was a reason they were in all those outdoor games because it makes money for the league. Chicago, being a Stanley Cup contender, gets everybody paid.
Yes.
Not just the Blackhawks. It gets the entire league paid.
And I think the fact that Connor McDavid is an Oiler can probably debunk any sort of conspiracy theories you have about rigging a draft. Because I think that is the worst
Yeah.
possible outcome for the NHL is to have him in Edmonton.
If Gary Bettman was going to rig a draft for his baby, the Arizona Coyotes,
He'd done the Austin
he would have
Matthews.
done it in 2016
Yeah.
with Arizona native
Yeah.
Austin Matthews, and that didn't happen.
No.
He went to Toronto.
Right.
Does Toronto make a lot of money for the league?
They sure do.
They do. So
They sure do. So
it's going to be rigged. It's going to be rigged for a team that makes money.
Yeah, so this
sorry, PHNX.
Yeah, well,
It's not their fault.
get a rink where you can actually make $100,000 at the gate, and we'll talk. So this road trip will be interesting. I think a lot of the angst over the tank standings will be relieved a little bit when they return home on the 26th against Vancouver. It's going to be a tough road trip. Eventually they're not going to be able to keep these catch all these teams off guard. Eventually these teams are going to be like, we got to be ready to play from the drop of the puck.
The road trip is at Nashville,
Yeah.
at Arizona, at Colorado, at Washington, at Minnesota.
It's not an easy road trip by
No.
any means.
I wouldn't blame them if they went 0-5.
I mean, Colorado is a team. They're the Cup champs. They're trying to get healthy. They had another injury. Now it's who got the broken finger now?
Oh, yeah. Was it
crap.
Niskushkin?
No, he's back. It's the other Swedish guy. not Swedish, Finnish guy, Lehkonen. Yeah, he's out probably to at least the playoffs. They just can't catch a break, but they're still a great team. Washington's fighting for their playoff lives. Minnesota is a playoff team, but they're not in. They still got to win, and they've been playing really well. So that's going to be a tough trip. So I think a lot of the tank standing Yanks, because we beat the best team in hockey last night, probably won't. You won't feel so bad by the time they return in a little over a week.
Yeah. I would expect. Yeah, I don't think you're gonna come home with any sort of tank ruined. That's for damn sure.
No.
Just in case.
Knock on press sawdust.
Yes, just in case.
Let's just hope. I
Pressed sawdust is a perfect way to describe
that's what it is.
Yeah.
I can't take many more post-game shows where everybody's complaining that they're winning. Like, it's too much.
Hey, can I tell you something that last night, I just had a feeling. I don't know what it was.
Uh-oh.
I bet the Blackhawks plus 1.5 puck line, plus 150. And it hit without a doubt.
Nice.
Way to go.
Hey, the Blackhawks
Let's
scoring
go, baby.
first has been the bet to go lately. They've 6 out of the last 7 games they've scored first.
I'm not doing any of that. I just felt that I
Hawks
knew.
scoring
you got
first
burned.
was-
You got burned early on
Yeah.
this season.
Oh,
Hawks scoring
early and
first was
often.
plus 250 last night, and they did.
Yeah, I knew that the Bruins just clinched their playoff spot. They've kind of.
They're the 2015 Blackhawks.
Yeah.
They're coasting.
They're
Coasting,
They're
exactly.
done giving an F until
The 2016-17 Blackhawks.
The skate is off the gas. So.
There you go. Which isn't probably the safest way to drive it either way.
No, but that's Boston people for you, right, Mario?
Yeah.
and their weird angled streets.
The other bit of news we have, there's a lot, but another little piece is we finally have a date for the NHL Draft Lottery.
Our Stanley Cup final.
Yes, it is May 8th at 6 p.m., and you better bet that the three of us will be here watching live, reacting live.
Here or somewhere.
We'll be somewhere watching live.
I hope we're here. It's too important to risk any sort of weirdness.
Oh, gosh.
This is the radio producer in my brain. Like,
I'm so nervous.
if I'm not here, something can go wrong, and I don't want it to go wrong.
Wow.
But, man, I've been thinking about that night a lot. Like, what it's going to be like if they get number 1, what it's going to be like if they don't, what it's going to be like if they get number 4. Man.
Hey, you know, it's up to the lottery balls or Gary Bettman what happens. And by the time the season ends, we'll at least have a idea of where they could land. I think right now, you know, still with 15 games to play, there's the chance that anything can happen still. You know, where they end up in the standings. But I think once the season ends and that time between that final game against Philly and May 8th is going to be like very nervy, and it's only going to get worse leading up to May 8th.
It's already stressful.
That day is going to be a
I'm
ball
already
of
nervous.
stress.
I'm gonna need to be like
Highly medicated.
isolated and
My beard will be full gray by the end of that night.
Everything that we have from the inception of this show has led up to that day.
Yeah, the top has been spinning.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yep.
what
Shot
it's
at
what
inception.
we've been targeting for a year and a half now, and a season and a half rather, and then it's going to be the draft.
Yep.
And coming up in the next 3 months, you've got 2 of the most important days in the history of this franchise. I know it sounds like an overstatement, but it's true.
Yeah.
If they get number 1 or number 2, that changes the franchise
moving forward
for the next 10 years.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. And I think it's, you know, for as much of the, you know, the tank is ruined or, you know, all the jibber jabber after each win, I'm going to be happy for when that's over. And I think it's going to be a relief between between May 8th and the draft to at least know, okay, here's the blueprint now for that first pick. If it's first overall, second overall, third, whatever it ends up being, you could get to that point, and then now we can think forward. Now we can think about, okay, what's this team going to look like next year? What's the rest of their draft going to be after they figure out their first position? What's the free agency plan? You know, we can get into. You can put this season behind us. Because this season, we knew it was going to be tough. We knew it was going to be a lot of losing. We knew it was going to be very likely saying goodbye to a lot of players that people loved, and Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane's careers may or may not be done with the Blackhawks, and we can put all that behind us and officially move on to like the next step of the plan. Once we know what that pick is going to be, and I think it's going to be a relief, and I think it's going to be that. For me, I feel like that's where like the like fun meter starts going back up, because this season has been taxing. There have been some fun moments for sure, but it has been taxing, and I think that we all knew that was coming. But I think once we get through this spring and summer, that's where it's like, this is the fun part now. Now it's just like things are going to start being built rather than being torn down. It's going to be a lot of good stuff coming forward.
It will be fun for sure once we have that finality. The stress of worrying about it will go away, and now it's like, okay, this is where we pick. This is who we're going to get. And then the fun thing will be is I wonder how different Kyle Davidson and the scouting staff draft boards look depending on where they fall.
Yeah.
Like if you know you're getting Connor Bedard, then do you draft accordingly? Do you draft guys that play well with him? If you get 2 in Adam Fantilli, then do you change who you get with that first round pick?
Yeah.
Or all those 86 second round picks they have, or 3. Like I'm betting they have a different list of targets depending on where that first pick lands. So that's where the fun comes, and then they could really start doing their homework and put together who they're going to go after. And I really hope we get the chance to get Kyle Davidson on the show, hopefully before the draft.
That'd be nice.
Because I want to, like, we've been asking, we're trying, we're working on it. He's been a little busy, we get it. Trading all those guys and all that stuff.
GM meetings right now.
Yeah, that we get it. We're not on the top of his priority, but we're hoping to get him here. I hope before the draft, because I want to pick his brain. He's not going to reveal everything to us, obviously, but I want to know, like, hey, like, what goes on in those discussions when it comes to those second and third round picks? Are you looking for a position? Are you looking for specific guys, specific types of players? It's just all that stuff is so interesting to me, how on draft day the pieces move around so quickly, and you've got to be prepared for 100 scenarios, and then even be prepared for if all of those go haywire.
Yeah.
And you have to know what other teams are going to do.
Yeah.
Because those teams are looking at the same guys that you are.
Well, I think that's we saw when he took Orchinski at 7. We're like, Nazar was right there. And then Nazar fell to 13. So I think that was a little bit of, all right, well, we know these guys have been targeted. They know which guys teams are looking at more seriously. Scouts run into each other. They talk, all that sort of stuff. It's not nearly as secretive as we'd like to believe it is.
And he showed that he's also very forward thinking, because as I can't remember, it was either Shayna Goldman or Emily Kaplan said last year's draft was so stocked with defensemen, where this year was forwards, that even though the Hawks didn't necessarily need another defenseman, he went after it last year because he knew he wouldn't be able to get a player of that talent in 2023. So that's why he did the Korchinski and the Rinzel, and then still got the Nazar. So, a lot of these moves that are going to get made today are also planning for 24, 25. That's why I can't wait to get to talk to Kyle to talk about this stuff.
Well, I also want to know, we're seeing how Bears fans are enjoying this offseason, right? Where
I don't know. I think things are turning already.
Turning around.
Because they haven't spent every single dollar of their free agency money yet.
I don't know. The Montgomery deal to Detroit. We haven't signed this guy yet. There's
don't pay for
already
past performance.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. David Montgomery.
There's already questions.
Love the guy. Great runner, hard runner, did a lot for the team. Move on.
Yep.
Don't pay for past performance.
You can get guys like that in every draft.
Yep. But I'm curious as to see does Davidson activating the free agent signings and the moves for the future, does that hinge on Bedard or Fantilli? Or if it's 3 or 4, does he put that off for a year? I'm wondering what his mindset is, because with all the money they've got, with all the cap space they have, not that there's a ton of super appealing talent out there in the free agent market, but he's got money to spend. I wonder if he's going to try to get some pieces for the long term. And they could be draft trades. They could be a lot of things. I'm just really curious to see what this roster is going to look like next year. No idea.
Yeah.
I think aside from Reichel, Kurashev, Seth Jones, Connor Murphy,
Leading goal scorer Taylor Radish.
yeah, Mrazek's going to be here. And Radish, like, who else can you really pencil in? And Gutman, I think, who we'll get to in a second.
I think I saw some comments on Twitter when the Bears were making their free agency splashes, and people were like, oh, I can't wait for this summer when Kyle Davidson can do the same thing. It's like, this isn't the summer for that.
Yeah, next summer.
The free agency class isn't that great. You can find some guys. 2024 is the summer of Kyle.
Right.
That needs we need to start making that our thing. Summer of Kyle. Get that on a shirt. Start planning now so we have it for the summer of 2024.
Noted.
That's going to be the summer of Kyle. And, that's when that's when the prize franchise changing free agents are out there and they'll have the money. So I don't see him overspending this year. I see him getting to a little bit above the cap floor and saving a lot of that money for next season.
Might as well.
There's no reason to go crazy.
Right.
Just spend what you are required to by league rules and pocket that money for a rainy day, say July 1st, 2024.
The absolute worst thing that you could do in the NHL is spend to the ceiling and not be a team that's contending.
Yeah, what's the point?
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, the target should be the cap floor.
Yep.
Right. That's all.
If
That's
it's
all you need to
million,
do.
you spend $60.2 million, and you go from there.
Yeah, and then you have flexibility to work with at the trade deadline
To add bad contracts.
you have and then you're not locking yourself in to deals for guys that are older when you need money down the road for guys that are younger and need those first big contracts or second big contracts, whatever it is. So you don't want to pencil yourself in to where it's just like, oh crap, now we have to hope the cap goes up more than $1 million, otherwise we're screwed. Like
we've been there, done that. We were lucky that we got the 3 cups during that era, but then because of that, we had to tear it down and not win more than 3 cups when they very easily could have. So there's just because you can spend a ton of money doesn't mean you should right off the bat. Save it for next year.
Oh, we've got a question about Austin Matthews. I saw it up there a little bit there, Lauren. Sorry, I forgot who said it.
He's pretty good.
Asking about when he would be a free. There he goes, Jason. He says, "What scenario might result in the Hawks being in on Matthews when he goes UFA?" Well,
he goes
if he
UFO.
goes to UFA.
yeah, when he goes UFA.
If he's on the market, you damn well know Kyle Davidson is making some phone calls. I don't know if he ever gets to that point. You would think the Maple Leafs would want to sign him this year.
Yeah, you'd think
but
so.
But who knows what happens there? They don't win the Stanley Cup. You know Kyle Dubas is gone.
Yep.
And you don't know what the next guy is going to want. He might show up and say, listen, we've been rolling the same core out there every year, and it hasn't worked. Maybe it's time for a shakeup. It's Matthews and Marner.
So Matthews is a free agent in 2024. Marner and Tavares become free agents in the summer of 2025.
Yeah,
Nylander is up this summer.
Nylander's up next summer, too. So Nylander and Matthews go free agent at the same time.
And then Marner the following year. Tavares, they'll probably move on.
I think he'll just walk away.
Yeah,
unless he's going to take he'll be, 35 at that point?
He'll go back to the Islanders. But, they can't pay all 3 of those guys.
No.
If you give Matthews market value,
he's already making 11.6.
Yeah.
He's going to get a raise.
It's going to go to what, 15?
Marner and Nylander both might have to be sacrificed. One for sure.
Yeah, Marner makes 10.9.
As much as I
Nylander is up almost 7, not quite 7, but very close to 7. And Tavares is $11 million.
So, it just you would think they would want to wrap up Matthews this summer to not have that distraction all next year about, is this your last year? Is this your last year? But it all depends on what they do in the playoffs this year. If it's another first-round exit, say it's another first-round loss to Tampa and Matthews only has a goal and 3 points, they're going to be running his ass out of town.
Yeah.
That media and those fans, he'll be ready to jump on the first bus out of Toronto and sign with whoever wants to give him the money.
Well, the other thing about the Leafs, too, is aside from Morgan Riley, who is signed until 2029-30 at 7.5, a nice deal for him. TJ Brody's a free agent after next season. Justin Hull's a free agent this year. Jake McCabe, who we know is up after the 2025 season. They don't have any defense signed long term. And yeah, they've got some prospects, but like,
Well, they just traded a 22-year-old away.
Yeah.
It's
So that was smart.
cup or bust
it's kind of
this
now.
year.
Yeah, it's kind of now or never
it
for
has
the
to be.
Leafs.
It basically has to be this year.
Well, and that's
It could be next year too.
Dubas showed in his trade deadlines, he actually went for something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if he's back after this year, then, they go for it again. But anything short of a Stanley Cup, and Dubas is not back. That's why he doesn't have a contract right now.
Matthew Nyes is a wing, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
So it makes me feel like if they're sacrificing Nylander or Marner or Matthews, it's going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those wings.
Probably,
because I think the thought in Toronto is that Matthew Nyes is the next big thing. So if you're trying to cut money, I think it's probably one of the wings. So they're going to go in for Matthews,
Of course.
But it's
Hey, Mitch Marner and
It
Connor
depends.
Bedard on the same line. That wouldn't suck.
sure.
Or Mitch Marner and Adam Fantilli on
Hey,
the same line.
the
wouldn't
Blackhawks
suck.
can roll the dice for the third Nylander.
Sure.
Maybe it'll work out.
This one's a little better.
88's available now.
Oh
Could
boy.
you imagine?
By the way, Ryan saying Mitch Marner making $11 million and 4 laughing emojis. Mitch Marner has
He's
85
worth
points
it.
in 66 games. He is absolutely worth
Mitch
it.
Marner's absolutely worth
Mitch
his
Marner,
contract.
Austin Matthews is not as good without Mitch Marner.
No, and I think that Mitch Marner is like the Toronto version of Leon Draisaitl, where the
Yeah.
guy's a superstar, but because he's in the shadow of
Yeah.
the flashier, slightly better player, he's not getting the credit. Mitch Marner is awesome
He's
and worth
absolute-
every penny of $11 million.
Yeah, he'd be the best player on most other NHL teams.
Lebowski says no more Nylanders, please. I kind of feel that same way. Like William is a good
good.
player, but is
He's
he a product of playing with other really good players? Can he be the guy on his own? I don't think so.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I liked Michael Nylander. The only Nylander I don't like is Alex. 2 out of 3 ain't
I hear
bad.
Peter Nylander's a prick.
Is he?
I don't know.
What about Reggie
I
Nylander?
just made him up.
They're just making people up now. Yeah. I don't know. I it's going to be interesting, but at least 2 of those names you would think will not be Leafs beyond.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's
2024.
just a small sliver of the guys who are going to be available between 24 and 25. That sounds like a really good off-season topic
Yes.
that we're going to do starting April 14th.
Mario, tell us about some beer.
Hey, Goose Island. They make beer, and it's great.
Well, you sold the hell out of that. All right.
Makes me want to start drinking.
Goose
again.
Island Beer Company, the official beer company of CHGO Sports and Chicago's beer since 1988. They have a deep, talented roster, a Stanley Cup caliber roster of beers. As you see on our table here, the Blackhawks Pale Ale right there in the black can. Tastes great, looks great. What more can you ask for from a beer? The Bull City 312 also out there. Both of those are limited releases honoring the great teams of this city. The teams of this city. Of course, for the darker beer fans, you got the Bourbon County Stout, you got the Beer Hug IPA series, the Green Line, and of course, in the distinguished golden can, the 312, the staple of the Goose Island roster. If you want to try any of these beers, you can go to their 2 local locations. They are open and ready to welcome you. You can get a beer right from their innovation tanks at the Goose Island Tap Room at 1800 West Fulton. Or if you prefer to pair a burger with your beer, you can get a fresh beer of the week and a smash burger at the original Clybourne Brewhouse, which is at 1800 North Clybourne. For reservations and pickup, go to gooseisland.com/locations. Goose Island Beer Company.
All right. And if you are headed out to a Hawks game, stop off at the Goose Island, any of their tap rooms, and enjoy a beer, a smash burger. Then head to the Hawks games with the tickets you bought on Game Time, the hottest new ticketing site that makes it easier than ever to score the best deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows. Ever dreamed of sitting in a seat you never thought you could? 50-yard line, courtside, behind the penalty box, floor seats at a concert. It is possible with the Game Time app. The biggest last-minute price drops can be found on the seats you thought you could never buy, and you won't find a better deal this season on Blackhawks tickets. It's created by the fans for the fans, and if you should happen to find a lower price ticket elsewhere, reach out and they will guarantee you the lowest price. If you love CHGO, then you will love Game Time. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description Join over 15 million people who have downloaded the Game Time app and score the best seats to all your favorite events. And speaking of supporting us, if you're wondering why we're on at noon today, it's because NFL free agency officially begins today, and our Bears show is coming on at a special time of 3 o'clock, correct? Yeah, so jump on all CHGO, go to the CHGO locker, and get yourself our brand new Bears design, the Greg Braggs-inspired Brick by Brick
It's beautiful.
T-shirt, hoodie. It is awesome. If you are not a diehard yet, you become a diehard at allchgo.com, and that shirt or any shirt in our collection, like the stuff we're all wearing today, can be yours for free upon sign up and every year upon renewal.
Oh, free.
If you are already a diehard, you're going to save 20% on everything at chgolocker.com. Not only that, you'll get access to all of our great written content like the Rebuild Report. You're going to save 20% in the store. You're going to save 20% on all of our events, takeovers, tailgates, watch parties, all that stuff. You'll get access to our members-only happy hours, our members-only Discord. It is a great value, and it helps us out a lot. So become a diehard at allchgo.com.
We might bring back members-only jackets while we're at it.
We should do members-only diehard jackets.
Oh, now we're talking.
Let's go to Goodwill and just find as many members-only jackets as we
find them
can.
at Goodwill. I think they're pretty hot these
Are they
days
back in
among-
style?
among
Back
the
in
children.
style. Did the kids rediscover them?
I think they did.
They pulled them out of their dad's closet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have one question from our guy Chris in the UK. Can someone outside the U.S. become a diehard?
Yes.
I believe we will take your money too. We will
Yeah.
get it transferred into American money
we'll take
and
euros,
throw it in the account.
We'll take
Yes,
I like English pound sterling.
You could
you
still
go.
you can still become a diehard, and you'll get access to all of the great written content. The Rebuild Report is behind the diehard wall, so you get access to that. We'll send you your free merch all the way overseas. We'd love to see some of that represented in other countries. So yeah,
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, take
Yeah.
a picture with your CHGO merch up by Big Ben.
Big Ben.
Buckingham
the
Palace.
London Bridge.
standing between two of those guards that don't move.
Yeah,
That'd be
Buckingham
awesome.
Palace.
Yeah.
Go to the coronation for the king.
What
Or to
other
CHGO.
UK events and locations do we know?
Yeah, go.
Who wants a banger in the mouth? That's what they call it.
Sure.
A banger.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that. We're worldwide here at CHGO.
Absolutely. We have a super chat to get to as well.
Yes.
From our buddy Thomas. He says, so question, should the Hawks try to burn as many of their first-year entry-level contracts as possible in order to save later down the road like they did with Reichel? So we'll get into it here.
That's a good segue.
Yeah, Rolston's deal, NHL deal starts next year. He's on a PTO with Rockford right now. The Wyatt Kaiser deal starts immediately. So
Burn that first.
they're
year.
kind of staggering these things a little bit.
Right.
And the reason, yes, Thomas, you said it, the reason the Reichel contract was started early was because they thought, let's gamble, and we're going to assume he's not going to become a superstar in the life of this deal. Maybe it'll happen next deal, so they can get that bridge deal done sooner for cheaper, and then they kind of delay having to pay him the big money that he might earn.
They could do it this summer
They could.
if they wanted.
Yeah,
I don't know if
definitely.
he would want to from his end, but they could do it this summer for Reichel.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why, like, Kyle Davidson has started picking up more picks in 24 and 25. Sure, this is an historically deep draft, and getting 18 picks this draft would be fun, but then that's 18 guys that might all need new contracts at the same time, and
Right.
that's how you screw yourself with the dumb hard cap in the NHL. So that's why you see him a little more eager to take a 2025 first round pick or a 2024 second round pick. Spread this out. Let these prospects come in waves, so then you don't have to pay them all at the same time when it's time for them to get those second or third contracts.
So in 2024, the following prospects are due a new contract.
Summer of 24?
Summer of 24.
Summer Kyle.
Gutman, Reichel, Entwistle, Hardman, Kachuk, Radish, Zaitsev, he'll be gone. And that's it.
Not a lot of guys.
Reese
there-
Johnson will need a new deal then.
Not a lot of guys on that list. I'm going, ooh, God, we have to get
Gotta
those
have
guys
them, right.
back.
Right.
Michael Tepley, David Gust, Luke Philip Roos, Alex Vlasic will need one then. Isaac Phillips will need one then.
So there's going to be some
there's a good number of
some decisions that need to be made.
And Jackson Stauber is the last one.
And Jackson Stauber as
It
well.
just proves that next season is going to be such a fun season because all those guys are going to be playing for their next contracts and proving like that they belong beyond next season. So
and they're going to get more opportunities to play next year than they did this year. I think it's
next season is going to be so much better overall. The results may be the same.
It'll be
or worse, maybe.
It'll be more interesting.
It's not about winning, but it's just going to be so many more cool storylines to talk about because there's going to be guys that actually matter, guys that are going to be here beyond next season, performing and hopefully progressing.
The people who continually like tag us on Twitter and be like, "What jerseys should I invest in?" No one this year. Look at next year, and there's going to be some options next year where you might be like, "Hey, maybe I will invest in that Lucas Reichel jersey or whoever."
I mean, if you get the Reichel now and he busts out, you can always get the nameplate changed to a Roenick.
Sure.
I mean,
or the next 27 they'll assign.
Or Boquist.
Or Boquist. Or you can get a Ty Jones. You don't see too many of those.
Yourself an Adam Boquist throwback.
Johnny Oduya.
Yeah. All right, so we haven't gotten to it yet. Cole Gutman early this week was ruled out for the season, and I think, Mario, you had it last week when we were sort of questioning why Gutman wasn't going to go to Rockford. There were whispers of him dealing with an injury.
Yeah.
Now it's confirmed he's going to have shoulder surgery and is shutting it down for the season. I wrote about him for my my Blackhawks beat this week at allchgo.com if you want to check it out. Just another guy who was all really focused on what's coming in the draft and guys in the pipeline. Cole Gutman was doing good things in Rockford, was a free agent signing after he couldn't find a deal with Tampa Bay, couldn't find a chance with Tampa Bay. Comes in, plays, 14 games? I think 14, and had like a 32-point pace, a 20 goal pace. That's just a guy you just found, right? Like there's so much to be excited about, and it's not just maybe Connor Bedard, maybe Adam Fantilli. Gutman, if you were watching the games that he played in, looked like a player.
Yeah.
He looked like he belonged. And I know Luke Richardson said we weren't sure if he would have the speed for the NHL game, but he's proven that he does. And he's also got the intelligence. And that's really what has made Cole Gutman stand out, is that ability to know where to be offensively, defensively. We talk about it with DeBrincat and Kane, being able to find those soft spots, knowing where the puck's going to be. Gutman's got that ability. He doesn't have those hands or that shooting ability or the skill, but he's got that sense.
Other than that, same guy.
And that's half the battle. But that's half the battle.
Right.
That's half the battle.
You could, knowing where to be on the ice in all situations can make up for not having elite speed.
Dylan Strome.
Yeah. You don't have to be fast if you're already where you're supposed to be. Because you've got that IQ where you know where the play is going, or you recognize, hey, I recognize this from the video we watched. They're going to get here, so I'm going to get there before they do. You don't have to be the fastest player in the world when you read the game well, and that's what Gutman has. And, yeah, we were a little surprised he didn't go to Rockford, but this seems to be the thing. He's been playing hurt. He was going to have this surgery after the season, one way or the other, and I guess they just decided it's, getting a little bit too much, too painful. It's not worth it at this point.
I think it was aggravated.
Yeah, it's just not worth it at this point. He's secured himself a position on this team.
Feels like it.
He's going to be on the opening night roster. He's good, and somebody in the comments said you got to start building down the middle at some point. He could be a third, fourth line center for years to come. He's been very good at the faceoff dot, winning 60, 70% of his faceoffs on some nights. So those are the type of guys that they don't garner the headlines when you grab them. Like when he was signed in the summer, we were kind of like, oh, let me read on who the heck Cole Gutman is.
Flyer. It was a flyer.
Never heard of him before.
Yeah, it was taking a chance on him.
And now you have a guy that could be a real nice bottom six player going forward. And the Blackhawks have the luxury of taking more flyers on guys because
if they want,
they've got no expectations next year. So now is the time you find out who can play. And that's why next season, I'm really looking forward to the start of next season. I'm really looking forward to taking a break from this team for a little while when the season is over. But I'm really looking forward to next year because it's going to be a different season to cover. Yeah, because there's going to be things that actually matter happening.
And I don't want to be conflicted about wins anymore.
Right.
That
Right.
sucks.
Because, yeah, granted, you could still shoot for a top 5 pick next year, but it's not all about got to get
That
Connor
one
Bedard.
guy, yeah. And I
I'm
think
sure our buddy No Roids Just Rage is going to pick a guy and focus on him with his blinders all season.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is what it is. It's next year is going to be a lot less stressful.
And if they do get Bedard, let's say, they still, I don't see that as deviating too much from the plan that Kyle Davidson probably has. It's probably going to be the same roster construction and same outlook of what he was going to do for 2023-24 anyways, but just, hey, now we have Connor Bedard. Now we have a super elite talent that we can throw in
We have
right away.
somebody that will sell tickets.
Sell tickets. And look, and if you have Bedard with like other players that are younger trying to make the most of our opportunity, like hungry young players with Connor Bedard, like that's going to be a very exciting team if that ends up being the case. It's going to be it's going to be more watchable than this year was for sure. Even if they're still in the lottery, it's going to be way more watchable.
You got a team of young, hungry players with Luke Richardson behind the bench.
Oh, nice.
It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be fun. May not win a lot of games, but they're going to give teams are going to know they've just played the Chicago Blackhawks.
That's right.
And I think that's what Luke Richardson has been saying all along.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have an identity of you dread when our team is on your schedule because you know you may win, but you're going to pay the price.
they might be there already. They've kind of been that team this year. I mean, there's no easy win against the Hawks.
Yeah,
There just hasn't been.
they're not the bye week.
No.
Right.
Teams are finding that at the worst time of the season. Right now, there are teams out there that on this upcoming road trip that cannot afford to lose points to this team.
Yeah.
And they're going to spoil somebody's season before this is all said and done.
Yep.
Next up, we've got Notre Dame winger Ryder Rolston,
Our guy.
who signed a contract, like we mentioned earlier. He is on a PTO with Rockford. The 2-year deal officially begins next season.
3-year deal.
3-year deal, thank you. It begins next season. Rolston, the son of former NHL player Brian Rolston, gritty, I would say bottom 6 type, physical, probably in that Mackenzie Entwistle, Jujhar Khaira, maybe with a little more offensive upside than those guys. How do you, if he maxes out, what kind of player do you see in Ryder Rolston? Could he be a Taylor Radish type, like a 40-point guy? I don't know.
I don't know.
I think his game right now is a lot of offensive drive. I think he's a guy that likes to take the puck and try and get scoring chances with the puck on his stick. Kind of like Athanasiou, but with nowhere near the same kind of speed. Like he likes to take the puck to the net and shoot and be a goal scorer. I don't know if that'll all translate to the professional ranks, but he's young, coming out of college. Like he'll have a good opportunity to kind of work on the finer points of his game and kind of round out. But I think right now he has the offensive drive that you like to see. So yeah, I mean, if he maxes out and kind of gets another tool in his toolbox, I think he can be a pretty decent third line option. A guy who can, maybe even play on like a second power play unit or something like that in a pinch. Like I think there's some good things to see. We noticed when we watched him. You noticed it rather. His skating stride is a little effort.
Yeah,
a little too much effort in it.
He has decent speed, but he uses a lot of energy to get to that top speed. And players that do that kind of render themselves useless because they're out of energy. They're going fast, but they need to get off the ice now.
Well,
so those are things he's got a lot of coaching up he needs if he wants to be an NHL guy. Like I see him as one of those borderline AHL, NHL guys. I think he's going to be very effective AHL player. He's got that kind of game.
Yeah, for sure.
But he's going to learn.
He could be a career in AHL guy.
Yeah. He's going to need to learn how to skate a little better, have better strides. He's going to have to learn how to play without the puck, more structure. But these are things that can be achieved. I don't know if there's a long NHL future in his career, in his future here, but it's definitely there. There's something there. He fits, even though Kyle Davidson didn't draft him or trade for him, he fits that mold of what some of these other guys. So,
and he looks the part.
Yeah, I mean,
He's like the most hockey-looking hockey player.
He looks like
right out of
your hockey player,
right
yeah.
out of Central Casting for Letterkenny. I mean,
Yeah.
he's right there. But we'll see. He's going to get a chance to play with the Ice Hogs. He's on a amateur tryout with them for the rest of the season.
PTO.
And yeah,
not that it matters.
Yeah,
It's the same thing, basically.
But he's going to get to play there for the rest of the year because he wasn't on the NHL roster at the trade deadline. He is eligible for the playoffs, so he can play. We'll see what happens. He's going to get a shot because they're so depleted down there with injuries and guys up here. They need all the offense they can get.
Definitely.
So he's going to get a shot to contribute right away down there.
Yeah, well, it depends on where he's at with
Because
his
he
health.
he missed quite a bunch of time.
His season was shut down because of a broken collarbone that required surgery, but that was about 6-7 weeks ago. So depending on the severity of that, like maybe he's ready to hit the ice again. That would be great.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, if he's with Rockford, skating, practicing, like that's fine. If they still have 10, 12, 14 games left in the year for Rockford,
games left.
there's time for him to get his legs under him and then probably get into a few games late in the season.
I think if he wasn't on the trajectory to actually play this year, they wouldn't have signed them to that PTO.
They wouldn't have done it now.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think he'll get some time down there and hopefully be able to contribute. So it'll be interesting to see.
Well, we went out to Notre Dame in November to see Notre Dame play Michigan, see Adam Fantilli play as well. And we caught up with Ryder Rolston after the game. We're going to play that audio here in a second. But first, some breaking news from the NFL that impacts everybody listening.
Oh, boy.
Aaron Rodgers says his intention is to play for the New York Jets in the 2023 season. He said that to the Pat McAfee show.
I mean, just
he
shut
says
up.
the
I
deal
just
hasn't been
retire.
finalized yet due to the Packers holding out for compensation. So there you have it. It looks like Aaron Rodgers will not be a Packer next year. And I say, good riddance to King Pudwack.
See ya.
Seriously.
Go
just
away.
shut
Enjoy
up.
it.
Go take
Enjoy
that.
New York.
Go take that act to New York, and they'll run your
I can't
crazy
wait.
ass right out
I've
of
just
town.
been seeing all this shit, the tweets,
Yeah.
everyone's all this dumb
away.
things he's
Find
saying.
yourself
It's like, shut
someone
up,
who thinks
man.
as highly of you as Aaron Rodgers thinks of himself, and you'll be happy for the rest of your life. All right, let's hear from Ryder Rolston. This is from back in November, and the conversation here is really focused on the Blackhawks development team and staff and program. Remember, Rolston was a draft pick of the Colorado Avalanche, was acquired in the Carl Soderberg.
Yep.
My Soders are all mixed up now. Yeah, the Carl Soderberg trade. So here's what he had to say about the Hawks development staff, and he makes a comparison to the Avalanche, which we found interesting.
Spend a week in Chicago over the summer at the development camp working with the Hawks. Was there anything specifically that you've been able to take away from that experience to kind of help you this season?
For sure. I think a big thing is just a relationship I built with, the staff there, the front office, the development staff. I think, obviously a lot of great hockey minds. There's a lot of things that I learned, especially, off the ice too with the weight room staff. And, a great thing too at development camp is the staff. They know the players. They know everything that you're good at, everything you got to work on. So I felt, even though it is kind of a group camp specifically, a lot of them focus on individual guys and what they need to work on. So I felt I made even big steps as a player during that camp, and just to build a relationship with those people was great.
And when you're here and just in season, what kind of contact do you have with the organization? Are they keeping in touch? Is there a plan for you here, or is it pretty much you're in Notre Dame's hands when you're here?
Yeah, there's a lot of cross relationships between the front office, the development staff, and the people here. There's a lot of Notre Dame alumni within the Blackhawks organization. A big thing too is they trust everything that I'm getting taught here. So I think they kind of stay on the outside. They let me play within everything that's I'm being told here and things like that. But that being said, I do talk with Eric Condra quite a bit, Mark Eaton, and just check in, go over film and things like that, because I think it's good to just continually have a relationship with those guys, because obviously in the future those are going to be people that I'm going to be talking to a lot. So
How much do you pay attention to what's going on with them while you're in season, or is it just kind of keep your mind here?
Yeah, I'm obviously, I consider myself a hockey nerd, and obviously the goal is one day to play for the Blackhawks. So obviously I watch them as much as I possibly can, and obviously I focus a little bit, but I'm going to watch hockey games. That's, I love doing in my free time. So, but besides that, yeah, just kind of focus on everything at the rink here. Right now, obviously our work's kind of cut out for us. We got to start winning hockey games, but yeah, like you guys said, obviously I'm going to focus on that because that's where I want to be one day.
Just one more for you. You mentioned, the Hawks level of focus on your game when you're here. other guys that you play with or play against that have been drafted by other organizations, is that typical, or do you find that the Hawks are a little more involved than other organizations might be with other college prospects?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was drafted by the Avalanche, so my contact with them, it wasn't even that long I was with that organization, but I just feel like the Blackhawks do such a much better job of focusing on their prospects and understanding what they need to get better on developmentally, and because the prospect pool, that's the face of the future. Obviously it's a rebuild there, and it doesn't seem as much like that right now. I mean, they're doing pretty well, but just Eric Condra, Mark Eaton, Kendall Coyne, they've been so hands-on, and I get a text from them all the time, and it's not even like hockey related, it's just how are you, what's going on, how's school going, and things like that, and I didn't get that with Colorado, so I think that in itself says a lot.
That is Ryder Rolston, current Blackhawk property, was a Notre Dame winger back in November when we went to see them play. I love that. You never know what you're going to get from these guys when you talk to them, and we didn't even know if we were going to be able to talk to him. He was kind of brought out. We're like, yeah, with the PR lady, and he came over and
it worked out.
That was gold. The stuff he gave us about the development staff was killer. It
was great. Yeah.
That's great, and it's got to make you feel good as a Hawks fan, especially as you're talking about. Needs help on his skating, right? His stride, all those things. They've got the staff in place that if Ryder Rolston is going to turn that corner and become a better skater and a better player, they've got the people in staff in Chicago compared to the defending Stanley Cup champions. Rolston said the Blackhawks do a much better job with their development. So as cynical as you want to be about the Blackhawks right now, aside from the product on the ice, which is better than everyone expected, you got to be feeling positive about everything happening in the organization.
Yeah, I mean,
hockey-wise.
This is a focus on prospects that the Blackhawks haven't emphasized in a very long time. And, Bedard or bust is the wrong way to look at it.
Yeah.
You look at what the prospect system has gone through in development over the last year, 2 years, and you look at what Kyle Davidson did in his first draft class and how that impacted the prospect system by all accounts of draft analysts and things like that. Like, things are heading in the right way, in the right direction, and the development of players is not just what they do at the NHL level. It's the communication that the staff has with them while they're in juniors, in college, playing overseas in Europe, when they get to the AHL, and then when they get to the NHL. Like, there's so many different levels of where development happens. It's not just, I'm watching Lucas Reichel and he didn't have a point tonight, so he must be a bust because he's not producing. Well, you have to look at what he did on his path up here and understand that not every guy who steps on the NHL ice at 18, 19, 20 years old is going to be Connor McDavid at 18, 19, 20 years old. Like, it takes time for these players to develop, and it takes different stages of development to happen. And the Blackhawks, I feel like, finally are realizing that.
Yeah.
And it's not just, if you put a 19-year-old into the NHL, they're going to figure it out. Like, no, you have to let them figure themselves out at their own paces, because every player is different.
When I think Hawks fans too are spoiled in that way, because so many jumped on when Taves and Kane got here, and those guys were great right away. And then Brandon Saad came in, was good right away, and Artemi Panarin came in, was great right away. And like, people didn't see the years of Keith and Seabrook and Crawford developing, right, year after year after year in Norfolk with the Admirals for Duncan Keith. Then he comes to the NHL, still is not a finished product, and they all kind of develop at the same time.
Yeah.
So what we saw with this dynasty is not typical.
Right.
It's not typical.
Those
Something
guys were
like Lucas
exception,
Reichel.
not the rule.
Yeah, Lucas Reichel was a much more typical example of development.
Yeah.
And he's a different player this year than we saw last year.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the funny thing was, when we originally saw that game between Notre Dame and Michigan on the schedule, like in August, we're like, we're going to go.
Yep.
And we're going to talk to Frank Nazar. And we're going to talk to Adam Fantilli. And we're going to talk to Landon Slager. And Ryder Rolston was kind of like, oh, yeah, that guy's there too. I guess, if we got time, we'll talk to him. And then Nazar was hurt, didn't play. Slager got hurt like the game before and wasn't available.
And
Michigan wouldn't give us access to Adam Fantilli because it was a road game, whatever. So, then it was like, well, I guess we got to talk to Ryder Rolston. And then he gives us
it was
great stuff
chat.
that we're using, 4 months later. So, good time.
Yes. All right, one more little bit of news to get to, but first want to remind everybody that DraftKings Sportsbook is the official betting partner of CHGO and All City. They've got those NBA no-sweat same-game parlays. Get those Major League Baseball futures in now. It's going to get here before you know it. Opening day is around the corner. Get those bets in today. Lawrence,
sir.
He got a win last night. Betting the Blackhawks, plus 150 on the money line. Was it plus 150?
It was plus 150 on the puck line, so plus 1.5 goals.
Got it.
I was like, they're not going to lose by 2 goals tonight. I kind of wanted a 4-3 loss, but that's fine.
All right, well,
I'll take the win.
It worked out.
You can only do so much.
You win money. That's a good thing.
You win money. Thanks, DraftKings.
Do it yourself. Join in the fun. Download the app now and sign up with the code CHGO. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA with code CHGO. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
And if you want more money to throw in your DraftKings account, you can save money with our friends at ComEd by getting one of their great facility assessments. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is committed to helping families and the businesses in the communities they serve save money and energy. ComEd offers free facility assessments that can help find energy-saving opportunity, whether it's lighting, HVAC systems, commercial kitchen equipment, or industrial processes. An authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and needs. These can be done in person or virtually and last approximately 2 hours. Within 3 or 4 weeks afterwards, customers will receive a report detailing energy efficiency projects they can start working on immediately. Each recommendation will include estimated energy savings, cost savings, project cost, potential incentives, and simple payback. Don't wait. Start saving money and energy right now. For energy saving tips and to schedule your free facility assessment, go to comed.com/poweringbiz, B-I-Z. Ready to sign up for a facility assessment? Well, then you can call ComEd at 855-433-2700 during normal business hours, which is right now, to speak with a ComEd Energy Efficiency Program representative, or you can email businessee@comed.com or request an assessment online at the website comed.com/facility assessment.
All right, the last bit of news we have for you here. Yesterday afternoon, the Blackhawks announced that the team had agreed to terms with defenseman Wyatt Kaiser on a 3-year entry-level contract that runs through the 2024-25 season. That is a $916,666.67 salary cap hit. So put that in your notebooks. He will report directly to the Blackhawks, and the assumption is he will play tomorrow against Nashville in 35 games with Minnesota-Duluth. He was second in assists with 18 and fourth with points in 23, setting career highs in goals, assists, and points. He is 6 foot, 172-pound blue liner. So there you go. Minnesota-Duluth Wyatt Kaiser is on board and should play tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah. I think the Blackhawks have been really impressed with him in his time in college. He spent basically 3 years as one of their top pairing defensemen. I believe back-to-back Frozen Four appearances in his freshman and sophomore years. Played for the national championship as a freshman, if my memory serves me correctly, but lost out there. Played for Team USA at the World Juniors twice, I believe. He played in the Summer World Juniors, and I think he was on the World Junior team
one time, 2022.
One time. He was on the World Junior team that got canceled.
Yeah.
And then was on the Summer World Junior team. So technically twice, but once. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like about his game. I think he came into school as a more offensive guy, and I think as his time progressed through college, the defensive side of his game started to catch up a little bit. He's not the biggest guy, but I think his skating is up to par with the NHL level. I believe he's another guy that we were talking about, knowing where to be, using your brain for hockey is a good thing. And I think he's a guy that does that. I think he reads the game well. There's a lot to be excited about for him. Also, though, in the same breath, patience. This is where
he's not ready.
We don't want it. We don't want Ian Mitchell 2.0 coming through here. He'll likely finish out the year at the NHL level. I wonder if he'll be part of that group that like is like, hey, go back to Rockford because technically he could for the playoff push. But yeah, I mean he's gonna get some time here at the NHL level. I'm interested to see where they put him, who they put him with. Because if let's say you're scratching Ian Mitchell, well, he just played with Nikita Zaitsev. Do you want Wyatt Kaiser first NHL experience to be with Nikita Zaitsev? I don't think so.
I'd put him with Connor Murphy or Seth Jones.
Sure. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Yeah, Kaiser could be the guy that has the same type of path that Alex Vlasic, I got it right this time.
There you go.
Where he came up last year, played a dozen or so games at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And then spends the next entire season in Rockford getting the coaching, the development. The Hawks are in a good situation right now because they got a lot of talented young blue liners coming up, and they also have nothing but time.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing but time to develop them. Kaiser's kind of a guy that's been overlooked the last couple of years, because you had, first-round pick in Nolan Allen. Kevin Korchinski takes away the headlines a bit. Even the progression of an Ethan Del Mastro, especially this year, has shot him up.
Yeah.
Isaac Phillips progressed. So you kind of forget about Kaiser, but Kaiser's very quietly been a really good player. He is a great skater. We talked about the skating with Rolston. Kaiser, that's his, that's what we're turning eyes when he was in high school, how effortless and good of a skater he is. He was more of an offensive player in high school and then got to college and said, nope, I want to learn how to be a complete defenseman and focus on his defensive game. As a freshman at the University of Minnesota-Duluth, which is a top program, led the team in time on ice as a freshman. That goes to show you what kind of player he is. Did it again as a sophomore. I think he's going to be a really good player, but you got to have time. And here's the fun thing about both of these guys that just got their contracts, which is all these trades for prospects and picks over the last couple of years. You got to remember to give it time to see what happens. Rolston was the throw-in prospect in the Carl Soderberg trade with the Avalanche. What was that, 2021? 2020?
That was
2020, I think it was.
Was that the shortened season?
Might have been, yeah. Or the COVID bubble year, maybe. Whatever it was. It was at least 2 years ago.
Did they get to the trade deadline?
I think
COVID year?
I think it was the year.
Oh,
where
it was like the week
2020,
before.
2021.
So
So it was the shortened season.
year.
Okay.
Yeah, the crazy no fan.
The 56 game.
Right. That was when they had, was that Janmark too? They got them both into trade. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was part of. So that was 2 years ago. The pick that we got, the pick that was used to get Wyatt Kaiser, was the third-round pick we got from Calgary for Eric Gustafsson.
Hey. There you go.
So you turned Eric Gustafsson into Wyatt Kaiser. So just keep that in mind as these trades are being made and picks and prospects. You may be like, oh, man, we didn't get anything for Alex DeBrincat. Wait 3-4 years and see what happens. We didn't get anything for Kirby Doc. Wait 3 or 4 years.
Yes, you did.
We didn't get anything for, Jake McCabe. We just got these draft picks and the building legend of Joey Anderson.
That's right. Old pie face himself.
You've got to give it time. When you trade Eric Gustafsson for a third-round pick at the time, you're like, whatever. It's a third-round pick. And now you've got yourself a pretty good NHL prospect.
Read all about all the Blackhawks prospects on Mario and Greg's rebuild report coming out Thursday, Friday?
Tomorrow, yep.
Tomorrow, yep.
Tomorrow.
allchgo.com. But guess what? You got to be a diehard to access that. Become a diehard at allchgo.com. You can watch Wyatt Kaiser's debut tomorrow night. Couple notes. The game's at 7, not 7:30, and it is one of those ESPN Plus / Hulu exclusive games.
Love those.
So don't go putting on Channel 200 looking for the Hawks tomorrow night. They're not going to be there. Make yourself a plan to find ESPN Plus or Hulu. And I'll just say,
don't tweet at me.
I'm not a shill for ESPN, but ESPN Plus is the best $5 I spend every month.
It's awesome.
It's great. There is nothing but sports all the time, every sport. It's amazing. It's almost every hockey game. If you're a sports fan, you should have it.
But how many of them are animated?
Huh?
How many of the games are animated?
Just the one.
Yeah, that was fun. That was
Hey,
kinda
but
cool.
ESPN Plus, Disney Plus come in the same package.
That's right. It's
So,
true.
that's
it.
That's how I got it.
Wait,
So
so $5 includes the Disney Plus? That's got to be more, right?
I think it's $12.99 for Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus.
I got locked in at the $7.99 price when Disney Plus first came out.
Grandfather Day.
Congratulations.
Oh.
Then it changed because at the time I had NHL package on NHL.TV, which was $150 a year. And then all of a sudden ESPN Plus out that I'm already paying for is like, this is great.
Yeah, it was awesome. I love it.
Yeah, get your ESPN Plus if you don't have it. If you're a hockey fan, you probably already have it. And if you don't, please don't tweet at me complaining about why the game's on ESPN Plus. I'm not the one that put it there. Just pay the $8 and get all the games.
And Bobby says there's no Hawks on ESPN Plus. Yes, when it's locally televised, the game will be blacked out on ESPN Plus.
Chicago.
In Chicago.
Right.
But tomorrow's game is an exclusive, so it will be there.
Yeah, it's the only place you can watch it.
Exactly. All right. So we'll talk to you after Hawks and Preds tomorrow night. Reminder, we are presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Thanks to Lawrence for running the show today.
Yep.
For Mario and Greg, I'm Jay. We'll talk to you tomorrow night on the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast.